I'm Brad. I drive a 2015 Subaru BRZ for Team No Grip Drift, and today we're going to be installing a NonStopTuning oil cooler relocation kit. It's got a few parts. You've obviously got the oil cooler. This will be in the spot where the oil filter typically is. Okay, you'll run a line to the oil cooler from here, and then from the oil cooler you'll run one to here. Now what this is this is where your new oil filter will mount. Just a side note, a cool feature on this part, it's got two threaded ports in it, so you could run like an oil temp gauge or an oil pressure gauge. And then you'll run a line from that back to your engine. Okay, so the first step is we're going to take off the old oil filter, and
you just throw it away.
We're going to put the new guy on. Now, I would suggest to oil that up just a little bit. It creates a little bit better of a seal. Very good seal. All right. Okay, let's look at this real quick. So this side is actually going to go to your oil filter. Okay, so it's going to go to your oil filter. I'm going to relocate mine up in here, and then it's going to go from the oil filter to the oil cooler, which will be mounted on my passenger side underneath my headlight. Then it's going to go from the oil cooler back to here. This side is the side that goes back to the engine. You want clean oil going through your filter and through your oil cooler and back to the engine. Alright, now it's time to install the oil filter piece. So if you're ever confused, if you look in here, that's actually coming from your motor. So the oil will come through here, go through your filter, and back to the motor. So this is actually what the oil flow is going to be coming through here, out here into the oil cooler. Now let's install the oil filter. Again, you're going to put a little bit of oil on the rubber there, helps with the seal. One thing to remember is once you hook all this stuff up, always check for leaks, of course, but one thing to notate is not all filters seal the same, so you'll have different batches. Just the minimalist of stuff can change how something will work. So buying the most expensive oil filter is not always the best thing. Really, it's just you want a good seal. If you notice one oil filter is leaking, change the filter, try a different filter, and just go from there. One of the steps you need to do on installing an oil cooler is you need to put oil in here so you can get all the air out. In this case, we're just going to put it in like that and start pouring the oil in. Those air bubbles are what you want out. Okay, now that you've bled the oil cooler, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mount it. This comes down to personal preference. I chose to mount mine on the passenger side underneath the headlight. What I did was I welded some tabs to my bash bar for support and bolted it to those. So what you can see is I've ran my line from my oil filter located here down towards the front. It goes to the oil cooler, goes through the oil cooler and back to the engine. So when I unboxed this stuff, the first thing I noticed was the quality of the materials. The oil lines themselves are still braided, are super stout. These pieces here are all CNC'd machined, so you don't have to worry about them like leaking really. It created a really good seal on this side, which is that's actually what I was worried about, was this side here more than anything, on how it was going to seal, and it sealed perfect. The side with the oil cooler, like I mentioned before, the side with the oil filter, the thing that I mentioned before was like, really choose your filter wisely. The more expensive filter is not always the best case in this type of scenario. The filter that I bought is kind of like an OEM style filter. It's not the OEM, but it's basically the same size and everything, and it's sealed perfect. All the AN fittings, they went together exactly how you would want them to. They sealed perfectly. These actually come out too if you want. They have rubber seals underneath them. They are working fine for me. So the oil feed line here, let's see, going back to the oil cooler itself. The oil cooler itself was super stout. Just holding it in my hand, it felt like it was, it just felt legit. Kind of had some weight to it, but no more than what you would expect out of an oil cooler. So it wasn't like super heavy or anything, but definitely feels like it's gonna get the job done. Some people like it here in the middle, some people like it off to the side. It really doesn't matter. As long as you're getting adequate airflow, the point of it is to cool your oil. So the more airflow you've got to it, it works just like a radiator. Oil goes through it. The more airflow it's got through it, the cooler it makes your oil. NonStopTuning also offers other size oil coolers as well. I went with the 19 row, however they have a 25 row. They'll even do custom sizing. They also have the standard sandwich plates for non-remote style oil cooler kits. Thanks for watching, and be sure and check out NonStopTuning's website for handbrakes, lightweight pulley kits, oil cooler kits, and a bunch of other products. If you want to see more drifting footage, check out Team No Grip Drift on YouTube.